This secret Ford transmission part you never knew existed. What if I told you that a tiny $15 part sitting in every transmission shop's junk bin held the power to transform your Secretary Special Mustang into a street racing terror? Not some expensive aftermarket kit, not a fancy valve body swap, but a simple aluminum piston and spring assembly that most mechanics literally threw in the trash when rebuilding Ford's most popular automatic transmission. In the right hands, this forgotten piece became the underground weapon of the muscle car era, the invisible modification that separated the pretenders from the real street kings. Today, we're diving deep into the Ford C4 Intermediate Servo, Ford's most overlooked engineering opportunity and the performance secret that's still turning heads today. If you love uncovering these buried treasures of muscle car history, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and drop a comment about your favorite sleeper modification. We might just feature it in a future video. Part 1. The Birth of a Legend. The year was 1964. Ford had just dropped a game-changer into the automotive world. The C4 Cruise-O-Matic, later renamed Select Shift. A lightweight 3-speed automatic transmission that would find its way into everything from base model Mustangs to luxury Thunderbirds and even F-Series trucks. This wasn't your grandfather's heavy cast-iron Ford-O-Matic. No, this was revolutionary. Ford engineers used a Simpson planetary gear set and wrapped it in an aluminum case that tipped the scales at just 110 pounds dry. They had shed 118 pounds compared to the old Ford-O-Matic. This thing was a featherweight champion built for the new era of compact performance cars. But buried deep inside that aluminum case, bolted to the intermediate band, sat a component that would become legendary among those who knew: the intermediate servo. It didn't look like much, just a small aluminum piston, maybe 2 inches across, sitting in its own housing with a spring underneath and a couple of seals around the edges. The whole assembly weighed maybe 6 ounces and cost $15 at the parts counter. But this little guy, this was the gatekeeper. This was what decided whether your C4 shifted like a performance transmission or felt like you were rowing a boat through mud. Here's how it worked. The C4 doesn't just magically decide when to grab second gear. When the valve body determines it's time to shift, hydraulic pressure gets routed to this servo. That pressure pushes the piston down against spring resistance. The piston then squeezes the intermediate band tight against the drum, and boom, you're in second gear. Pure mechanical physics. No computers, no sensors, just hydraulic pressure fighting spring tension. The problem? Ford engineered this transmission for your aunt's Falcon, not for performance. They used a soft spring with about 12 pounds of pressure. Gentle, smooth, butter-soft shifts that wouldn't spill your coffee during the morning commute. Perfect for the masses. Absolutely wrong for anyone who wanted their Mustang to actually feel fast. Part 2. The Ford Dilemma. Walk into any Ford dealership in 1967 and you'd see the problem right there on the showroom floor. A gorgeous Mustang GT Fastback in Acapulco blue, pony interior, the works, sitting next to a loaded F-100 work truck. Both had the same basic C4 transmission, but Ford faced an impossible challenge. They needed one transmission to serve 2 completely different masters. In the Mustang, it had to be light enough not to kill the car's nimble handling and smooth enough that suburban buyers wouldn't complain about harsh shifts on their way to the office. In the truck, it needed to handle towing duty and heavy loads without grenading itself. So Ford played it safe, really safe. They spec'd that soft servo spring that applied the intermediate band with all the urgency of a Sunday afternoon cruise. The result? Your 289 Fastback shifted about as aggressively as a rental car at the airport. But here's where it gets interesting. Those same Ford engineers who built the mild servo for passenger cars also engineered a completely different version for heavy-duty truck applications. Stiffer spring, different piston design, larger apply area, the whole thing built to grab that band like it meant business. The catch? Ford kept this quiet. They didn't advertise it as an upgrade option, didn't mention it in the service manuals. If you wanted your Mustang to shift with some authority, you had to figure it out yourself. And that's exactly where the underground hot rod community got creative. Part 3, the street racers discover gold. By 1968, word was spreading through speed shops across the country like wildfire. Guys were pulling intermediate servos from wrecked F-250s at the junkyard and discovering they were larger than the passenger car units. More apply area meant harder, faster shifts. The swap took maybe 20 minutes if you knew what you were doing. Drop the pan, unbolt the servo cover, swap the assembly, button it back up. First test drive and suddenly your Mustang grabbed second gear like it had been kicked in the teeth. This became the golden age of the sleeper. Imagine a bone stock looking 1969 Mach 1. Factory hubcaps, quiet exhaust, the kind of car you'd park at church on Sunday. Nothing about it screamed performance. But inside that transmission, someone who understood hydraulics had installed the heavy-duty servo. Light turns green, the Mustang launches. Instead of a soft, lazy shift at 3,000 RPM, it digs in. Stays in first gear until 4,500. Grabs second at 5,200 with freight train violence. That Chevy next to you with the loud pipes and slicks? He's eating your dust, wondering what just happened. The servo types became the secret language of Ford performance. The A servo was the weakest, standard passenger car issue. The R servo from full-size cars offered more apply area. The H servo from trucks was even larger and became the go-to upgrade for serious builders. And then there was the legendary C servo, originally spec'd for 289 high-performance V8s and Shelby Mustangs. The C servo was the holy grail, the largest in the family with the most aggressive characteristics. Finding a C servo at the junkyard was like striking gold. Most guys settled for the H servo because it was more common and nearly as effective. But those who scored a C servo, they knew they had something special. Part 4, the science behind the magic. So how exactly did swapping springs and pistons turn Ford's economy transmission into a performance piece? Let's dig into the hydraulics. The C4 servo operates on basic physics: hydraulic pressure versus spring tension. When the valve body sends oil pressure to the servo, that pressure has to overcome the spring force to push the piston down and apply the intermediate band. The factory setup used about 12 pounds of spring pressure. Sounds reasonable until you realize that soft spring meant the band applied slowly and gently, like easing into a warm bath instead of cannonballing into a cold pool. But swap in that heavy-duty spring with 28 pounds of pressure? Suddenly the math changes completely. Now that hydraulic pressure has to build much higher before it can overcome the spring resistance. When it finally does, wham! That piston slams down and clamps the band with serious authority. The really clever builders took it even further. Different servo types had different piston sizes. The A servo had about 5.8 square inches of apply area. The R servo jumped to 6.2 square inches. The H servo offered 6.9 square inches. And the legendary C servo? A massive 7.6 square inches of apply area. More area meant more clamping force for the same hydraulic pressure. It was like upgrading from a small brake caliper to a big one. Same pressure, more squeeze, harder shift. But here's where the story takes a critical turn. Some builders got carried away. They started modifying servos in ways that seemed clever, but could actually cause serious problems. The infamous R servo mod involved removing the top O-ring seal and drilling passages to create what they called a dual area servo, with nearly twice the apply capacity. Sounds impressive, right? Wrong. This modification had a fatal flaw. It put full line pressure against the thin cover gasket, which would flex and leak. Worse, it could create something called servo pin bias, where the servo would actually fight against itself during shifts. Professional transmission builders warn against this modification. It might work on the drag strip for a few passes, but it's a ticking time bomb for street use. The larger servos also came with their own challenge. The 2 to 3 shift, the transition from second to third gear, was already a weak point for the C4. Installing too large a servo could actually make this worse, causing what's called shift flare, where the engine RPMs spike during the shift before third gear fully engages. The key was balance. You needed enough servo capacity to firm up the 1 to 2 shift without creating problems elsewhere in the transmission. Most experienced builders stuck with the H servo for street cars making up to 600 horsepower. The C servo was reserved for serious builds with modified valve bodies and higher line pressure to support its massive apply force. Part 5. The complete system approach. Here's what separated the weekend tinkerers from the real transmission masters. They understood the servo didn't work in isolation. It was part of a hydraulic orchestra. Change one instrument and you'd better know how it affects the whole symphony. The smart builders never just swapped in a heavy-duty servo and called it done. They'd also modify the governor to hold shifts at higher RPM. Maybe install a firmer vacuum modulator spring to increase line pressure. Adjust the throttle valve linkage for more aggressive kickdown. Tweak the valve body with a reprogramming kit to make everything work together without breaking expensive parts. When done right, the car would purr like a kitten in traffic. Smooth, refined, totally civilized. But mash the throttle and it transformed into something completely different. Shifts that hit so hard they'd bark the tires going into second gear. Acceleration that made big block cars nervous. That was the holy grail. A car that could drive to work Monday through Friday without drama, then absolutely embarrass muscle cars at the weekend street races. And it all started with understanding that little servo and how it interacted with every other component in the hydraulic system. The best part? It was all reversible. If you didn't like how it shifted, you could swap the stock servo back in. If you wanted to try something different, another $15 part from the junkyard and 20 minutes of your time. It gave muscle car enthusiasts a cheap, low-risk playground where experimentation was part of the fun. Part 6. The Modern Revival. By 1985, conventional wisdom said the C4 was dead technology. AOD transmissions with lockup converters and overdrive gears were taking over. Electronic controls, computer-managed shift points. The era of mechanical hydraulics was supposedly ending. Except nobody told the hot rodders. Today, C4 transmissions are more popular than ever. Coyote engine swaps, LS conversions, modern power plants making serious torque, and builders are still choosing the C4 because it's lightweight, rebuildable, and completely tunable through mechanical means. And guess what modification they do first? The intermediate servo upgrade. In fact, it's better now than it's ever been because we understand the science deeper than ever before. Modern transmission builders are taking this 1960s technology and combining it with contemporary engineering knowledge. Instead of just filing and guessing, they're using precise measurements to calculate optimal spring rates for specific applications. Companies like Sonax produce billet aluminum C servos machined to tighter tolerances than Ford ever achieved. These modern C servos feature quad-type seals for superior sealing and Teflon rings on the servo pin to maintain hydraulic integrity even in worn cases. Some builders catalog hundreds of different servo and spring combinations, each tailored to specific engine and vehicle setups. Want your Coyote-swapped 1965 fastback to shift smooth in traffic, but grab gears like a race transmission at wide-open throttle? There's a servo setup for that. Want your vintage 289 to feel more aggressive without breaking axles or causing shift flare? Different combination, same basic principle. The beauty is that these modern builders stand on the shoulders of those garage mechanics from the 1960s who figured this out with nothing but hand tools and mechanical intuition. Part 7. Why it still matters. Here's the thing about the C4 intermediate servo that nobody talks about. It represents something we've almost completely lost in modern performance culture. Today, transmission tuning means plugging in a laptop and flashing a TCM. Click a few buttons, spend $1,000, and yeah, you'll get results. It works, it's reliable, it's fast, no question about that. But there's something fundamentally different about crawling under your car with basic tools and making a mechanical change that transforms how your car behaves. The servo teaches you about hydraulic principles, about pressure curves, about how mechanical systems interact and balance against each other. It forces you to understand what's actually happening inside that aluminum case, not just red numbers on a screen. And the satisfaction when you nail it? When you find that perfect combination of servo size and spring rate that makes your car shift exactly how you want, crisp on the street and brutal at the track, that's something no software download can ever replicate. The C4 Intermediate Servo never got magazine covers, never had its own feature article, never got the recognition it deserved. It just sat there quietly doing its job. A small aluminum piston and spring assembly that most people never knew existed. But in the hands of those who understood it, this little component changed everything. It turned secretary specials into street killers. It gave birth to sleepers that embarrassed cars twice their price. It gave everyday garage mechanics the power to tune their transmissions with precision for the cost of lunch and a Saturday afternoon. And it's still doing it today. Still teaching a new generation of builders that sometimes the simplest technology, perfected over decades of experimentation, beats any high-tech solution you can buy off the shelf. The devil is in the details, and those who master the details, they're the ones pulling away from the line while everyone else is still wondering what just happened. So the next time you think about performance upgrades, don't just picture horsepower numbers or shiny bolt-ons. Remember the servo. Remember the builders who filed springs, measured apply areas, and carefully balanced hydraulic systems, because they loved the process, not just the result. Next time, we're diving into another forgotten performance marvel, the Chrysler 727 Torque Flight Accumulator Springs. The 50-cent modification that made Mopar muscle shift like it had something to prove. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this video with a fellow Ford enthusiast. And let us know in the comments what hidden performance trick you'd like us to uncover next. Until then, keep building, keep learning, and remember that sometimes the best modifications are the ones nobody sees.